So we are now this is our first difference of the week. You've gone Seagulls, I've gone Cowboys. I mean, the Cowboys this week, they've had a coaching change. They've had a slight reshuffle as well. It's nothing too big, but Dejan Arce coming into the six. He really impressed me last week. Mitch Dunn goes to 14 and Ruben Cotter comes into 17 for the Cowboys. The Seagulls, welcome back. Adam Fanua-Blake. Paseka drops to the bench. I mean, I found it very hard to back against the Seagulls this week. I mean, they're not Parramatta off the top of the ladder. I think that was their best game for a long time, but I can't see them replicating it this week against the Cowboys, who are going to be going through a coaching change. They've had a halves reshuffle. They're still a little off pace in the backs, but I think I see the Cowboys edging this one.
So here's where I agree in some respects and disagree in others. I agree with the fact that Arce was fantastic, very, very impressive, a fantastic effort from him last week. The Cowboys look much better than what they have in weeks previous. I think, as Paul Green said on NRL 360 last night, they knew last week that this was Green's last season. Obviously, he's gone now. Won't be seeing the season out, but it's a handy. It was a handy performance to have before they do go back home against Manly. And to be fair, I did nearly tip them. This is one of the tougher choices this week because they haven't. There is a coaching change. Teams always seem to fire up. I don't know why, but they always seem to fire up after a coaching change. They always tend to get up. With that being said, I am going Manly just purely on the back line. I've got Manly up 5-2, 6-1 in terms of player potential. You can make an argument for Tabuai-Fidow going over Elliott. That's one of them. And the other one that you potentially could make the argument for is O'Neill over Garrick. For me, that's a really tough one. Garrick, one of the best wingers, I think, in the game at the moment. Justin O'Neill, a solid performer for such a long time. Queensland rep, Australia rep. Yeah, can't knock his career to date. But I just think that Daly Cherry-Evans will lead this team around the park. They're going to target Esan Masters, as every team should. Masters probably had a better game defensively last week, but it's still not up to NRL standard in terms of defense. I wouldn't surprise me if they put Sully right up against Masters and tell him just to run straight. I would not be surprised one iota. There is the potential for Jordan McLean to come back. He's named in the reserves, which I would imagine would see Francis Molo drop to the bench and potentially Gilbert out of the 17. I'm not 100% sure as to how that would work. But even so, Adam Fanua-Blake and Tapau, they're gonna run right through the guts for me. Obviously, it's hard to take down Taumalolo, but you then look at the likes of Joel Thompson, Curtis Sirenan, who had some of their best games this season last week against Parramatta, coming up against Shane Wright and Cohen Hess, they're not bad players, but I wouldn't say that they're superb standout second rowers. So it is a tough one. Don't get me wrong. It's a tough one. I don't really know where I'm going to go on the tips on this one, so I'm going to throw you on that one first, but I'm going the Seagulls just.
Yeah, so I see this one being low scoring. And the reason that I see it being low scoring is you look at the Seagulls pack, realistically, this one's going to be one in the forwards. Neither team's really got the quality or depth from the edges right now. I mean, Lemuelu, Masters, O'Neill, Felt, coming up against Tafua, Parker, Sully, Garrick. If anyone's going to get over out of them, I think it's probably Moses Sully. Both teams, they're middle teams. They've got some big blokes who are going to punch it up the middle, try to make meters. You've got Adam Fanua-Blake who comes back. He's got to prove himself and win back the fans after his major explosion. Completely inexcusable. no reasoning behind what he did, regardless of whether it was a good call or a bad call. So, he's got a lot to prove, especially when he was actually supposed to miss this game, but now he's had a flu shot. He's come back in, proved that he's committed to the side that way. So I'm expecting a big game out of Fanua Blake. I honestly wouldn't surprise me if he got over as well, but I just think that it's going to be a lock-up battle in the middle of the park, just big blokes going at each other, and then a few speedsters trying to get round. I'm thinking that Tabuai is probably going to have a decent game out the back. You saw it last week, how quick he can actually accelerate, get off that right foot and get wider players. So I think it's going to be a brutal game. It's going to be a brutal arm wrestle. I anticipate low scoring. I'd say you go over under 39.5 on this one. That one's just a gut feeling for me. Just for the reasons that I've disclosed there. And probably Moses Sully or Adim Fanua Blake to score any time for me.
Yeah, look, I'd love to agree with you on the under there. I'm only looking at past performance from between the two teams. I should point out on Sportsbet at the moment, that's what I use. The total for match points is 41.5, so keep that in mind. The lowest out of their last 5 clashes, the lowest score throughout the game has been 38. For whatever reason, these guys just seem to be able to find the try line. In saying that as well, in the last 3 of the last 4 games that Manly have played, it's been 38 or over. As for the Cowboys, 32 points or over in their last 5. If you really want to go all the way back, the lowest total match points in a Cowboys game going back to round 1. Let's see if I can do some math here. This could be very embarrassing. Is last round's performance, 32 points. So if you do want to be a little bit cheeky on the game on a same game multi and throw in an alternative total match points of, we'll say 33.5 at $1.28, you could. I'm not going to touch that. I do like your tip with Moses Sully. He's paying $3.10 on Sportsbet, and that's what I'm going to roll with. Sully anytime.
Yeah, so that's our tips for that one. If I'm honest, this is probably one of the games that I realistically won't touch this week. I will throw on the obligatory 5 on Sully, but yeah, it really could go either way. So take the over/under with a pinch of salt, because it could well be that both these teams are equally as awful defensively, or equally as brilliant on attack. So